Fellas, hey man, I feel like it's been a while since we chopped it up. When's the last time we just all sat and talked?
Since I had hair.
No, that's not true.
That was a long time ago.
Hey, also too, like, whether or not you had hair when you thought you still had hair is subjective.
He was holding on.
What you mean when you said, so y'all said I'm on the fences like Stephen A? I let it go. Hey, look, I'm so cute, boy.
Hey, hey, Chan, you know he's talking about.
I like my hair.
Like, since I had hair. Well, you ain't had hair in a long time.
they're
I
right
just
here.
ain't have all of it.
Yeah.
You got a hell of a widow's peak.
Hold up, limitless. Take a stomach, can't pinning it. I fought the head to witness it. Got my people feeling militant. Way I'm feeling, got me up. On the mission, got me up. Knowing me, I got the key. On the vision, I can trust. Limitless. Take a stomach, can't pinning it. I fought the head to witness it. Got my people feeling militant. Way I'm feeling, got me up. On the mission, got me up. Knowing me, I got the key. On the vision, I can trust. Limitless. Take a stomach, can't pinning it. I fought the head to witness it. Got my people feeling militant. Way I'm feeling, got me up.
Hey, you guys, man. Welcome to The Pivot, a part of Fanatics. I'm RC. This is Freddie T. Dash Chan. It's just the boys today. Every now and then we like to just sit down, really just catch up with each other for as much as everyone else needs time to tap in with their boys. I mean, shoot, we're the same way. We haven't even really talked, Chan. And you know, you down there working with the Dolphins. Freddie T, you also in South Florida since everything happened with Tua.
Yeah.
And initially, all the conversation surrounded whether or not he should start to think about playing going forward. And so since all kind of people have weighed in, Cam, which I think folks don't understand how we can find it funny, Cam told a story about the one time he truly knew he got a concussion and he laughed about, you know, thinking his mama was named Thomas Davis or his coach was named Thomas Davis or something like that. Can you remember an actual time where you were dinged as well?
Man, I'll tell y'all, after watching Cam, man, friend of all ours, I go to Fellowship.
Yeah.
Whenever time I go to Atlanta, I go to Cam's spot, Fellowship, go check it out. But man, I started thinking about it where like, he was talking about those little black bubbles and the little lights, the little birds that you see. Bro, that was 3 times a practice. That was 4 times a game. To us, you know what I'm saying? And he was like, that's not a concussion. The real concussion was when I can't remember.
That is a concussion.
That is a concussion. So, bro, I thought about, and the first thing part of my mind was I played with Zach Thomas. I bring up ZT all the time. And he called the defense. This is when we did base under roll, 7-7 adjusted switch. You know what I'm saying? Like, we still call signals in where it would be times where Zach would hit a dude and he'd say, CC, get up front. And I have to take the signal because I don't know if people know about the concussions. I don't know if y'all had them where it looks like you're looking through straws and then it takes 15, 20 seconds for the world to open up again, your peripheral vision to get back. I thought that was a part of football. I thought it was a part of when you play the game, like you hit a dude and the world is gonna open up sooner or later and you're gonna get back in the game. And so if every one of those, the birdies, the black bubbles, the tunnel vision that opened up was a concussion, man, I remember a number of times. It was a time when Zach hit Willis McGahee, banged him. Willis fumbled. Donnie Spragan got I remember the play because I scraped over the top because Zach usually beat me the most tackles. And I scraped over the top, and I remember watching Willis and Zach lay down with stiff bodies. Donnie gets the fumble recovery, they tackle him, and by that time, Willis gets off the ground, ZT gets off the ground. We get back to the huddle, and I look at ZT, I'm like, ZT, you straight? He said, call the huddle. And he was sitting there getting his stuff back together. But those times that Cam kind of downplayed of, yeah, I saw the birds and all that, that scares me about the thing with Tua. And when Tua gets hit, Tua does, they call it fencing. I found the name. When your limbs lock up, and that's why it's on national TV. And that's why everybody like thinks about it because it's on primetime games. But if all of the times that we saw the tunnel vision or the black bubbles or the little birdies, if those were concussions, I don't know how many times y'all had them, bro. But it scares me to think about how many times I had it if all of those times were concussions.
Yeah, no, Chan, you said it was a part of football. It is a part of football, but it was more in analog and not digital. The science has evolved to a point where they can recognize it, like they're able to treat it a lot quicker, like they know what it is. It was just that when we played, it was a part of the game. Like you get up, smelling salt, and you're back out there. I had several of those, much like RC, the way his body responds when he was in Denver. My first ever concussion, mile high, thin air, I got hit in the chin right here on a blitz pickup. Went out for a little bit. I kept playing. You know, I didn't know I kept playing until I watched the film the next day, or Monday morning. I watched the film, and I was like, I don't even remember this portion of the game. The only thing I remember is it was a fast forward from the first quarter to the third quarter. I remember little spots here and there being in the locker room. They were asking me if I was okay, all that different stuff. Yeah, I'm fine. Let's get back in the game. I got to help this team win the game. And that's what it's about back in the day. That was the analog portion. Nowadays, in the digital world, right, they can see everything. They know what to look for. They know outside of the what do you call it? Tool locking up. What is it called?
It's called fencing. It's called a fencing posture.
Outside of the fencing posture, right? You can easily identify those type concussions. It's the small ones that we can identify, the blitz pickups, because I was just shook up. I didn't realize that I had a concussion again until after I got back, after I had to do the baseline test. I watched the film, I was like, dang, where'd the game go? And that happened to me twice in my career on plays where it wasn't severe contact, much like Tua's, wasn't a severe contact. He actually hit DeMar's thigh in that situation. It wasn't a seam route, you know, watching RC dismantle Wes Welker. It didn't look anything like that. But, in fact, it was a concussion. I had several of them in practices. You know, when we would practice 2-a-days, full padded practices, twice a day, what we like to consider old school football. I like the direction that the game is going. As much as we like to say, oh, that ain't real football, it's football. It's being smart, it's taking care of the players, taking care of their families, you know, indirectly. As you take care of them, you take care of their family, because you create sustainability, you create longer careers, and you create better health for these players. Remember, look at the CBS commercial that people talk about. Every play on that intro is illegal nowadays, right? The clothesline, the guys playing with their teeth out, the young bloods, back at the Jacks and the Mike Singletaries. All of those plays were good
illegal
plays then, but nowadays they would be illegal. And most of those guys had sustained concussions. So to Cam's point, those little moments throughout practice, I had several of those. I didn't know how to identify them. It was just a part of the game, like you said. It was just part of the game. We laugh at it, and you keep moving.
I remember RC when he was knocking people to sleep, because you were the banger safety when we played. And when you used to do that little roll up, and you grab your knees.
And shake your head.
And you shake your head, look at the ground, and then one of your teammates help you up.
Yeah.
I knew what was going on.
Yeah.
I don't know if they knew what was going on.
No,
you were trying to get your shit back together.
But like, I think it's about a culture change.
The culture
you know, and
change,
I love
yep.
Fred using analog and digital, because it was just a different time for us. We didn't have the information,
Yep.
right? We didn't have the education. The NFL and the PA weren't sort of distributing those things to us because it wasn't part of our culture. And then as it continued to grow, now you have an understanding of it. But what I don't think people understand is that made me have an admiration for you.
Yeah.
That would make me have an admiration for Fred. You know, I've had conversations with teammates that would just tell me, RC, on the next series, just tell me what I'm doing each snap. All right, hey, you got curl flat, you got the hook, you got middle field, right? You blitzing outside. Like that was, and to me, we dap off and hug after the game, and I appreciated that about people. And as we learned more, and I was on the executive board, I can appreciate now that guys go to the sideline and say, hey, I'm a little foggy, or hey, I don't necessarily believe I'm all there. Can I be checked out? And there's somebody that sits on the perch up top, you know, a doctor that's disassociated from both teams that can look down and say, okay, this dude's wobbly, that would see me. Right, when you said I'd hop up and do this, right? Or when I had a teammate who always told me, if he said he had a stinger, normally he was just trying to collect his thoughts, right? He was trying to get himself back. And like that was the culture of it. But listening to Cam even talking about it, it shows how much that was ingrained in us. I remember to this day being 12 years old, I played quarterback at my little league team, and I tried to jump over a dude, and a guy running hit me. And I remember standing up and being wobbly, and it was like the first time I ever felt that. And I collected myself, I gathered myself, I went in for the next snap. That happened the rest of my life, right? Until I actually was out. And so I just think that for us and the way we grew up, it was a different time. I do believe people like us have to have those conversations with our kids, because my son is kind of screwed up in the way I was kind of screwed up. You know, like I've had him tell me, yeah, Pop, you know, I had to get dinged one time. I didn't want the first time to be in the game, because he knows us. He was in the locker room with me because he was older. You know, and so now seeing where the game is going, watching guys adjust, I think it's the right thing to do. I think they should protect themselves. But I said this on ESPN. Everybody's so quick to react in a way like you shouldn't play football. Football's so bad. And Fred Taylor, I don't care what anybody tells me, Fred Taylor was born to play running back. He's going to do much more in his life that's bigger than playing running back. He's going to mean more to people than he did to the Jacksonville Jaguars as playing running back, but that is what he was born to do. You were born to play linebacker. You just were. And you're funny, and you're charismatic, and you're great to be around, but there was a period in your life that God made you to do certain things, and me is the same way, right? What we're trying to tell these people is, because the thing you love so much is dangerous, don't do it anymore, even though God made you to do it, and that's hard.
You worked so hard to get there.
Yeah.
Do you know how much work Tua put in to be the number 5 pick of the draft, to be a franchise quarterback, to be what he is, to get the stupid deal that he just got? Now you're going to tell him retire. Just give that up because you got knocked out a couple times?
Well, the other piece is too, though, Chan, you talk about the money, people always go, well, you got this guarantee. And I try to explain to him, it's not about the fact, like, he could have taken care of his family on the first bit of money. He could obviously take care of his family on this guaranteed piece. You're asking him to change a piece of who he is.
Yes.
And we don't, we all want to be as rich as we could possibly be, but we also want to do this thing that's really fun and that we truly enjoy, and we really had this passion for it too.
To be special. That's what I don't think people understand about athletes. Like, we talk about me when I was chasing the money, but I did appreciate being special.
Yeah.
I did appreciate being the 1% of the 1% of that. You're a starting middle linebacker. There's only 31 other people in the world that can do what you do out of 6 billion. That's the thing that Tua. So when people are like, he needs to retire, don't pick that man's path for him. Because I tell you, with all the knee surgery, with the feet surgeries, with the concussions that I know now that I had, thumb reconstruction, shoulder dislocated, all the stingers. Bro, if you take me back to 14-year-old Channing, I'm still strapping it up.
Yeah,
and Tua's gonna still strap it up. And I believe, honestly, this season, Tua will still strap it up again this season and play quarterback for the Miami Dolphins and throw touchdowns to Tyreek and Waddle.
I was asked this question a couple of days ago when I finished Inside the NFL, TMZ actually, and they said, should Tua Tagovailoa be looking at Brett Favre saying or acknowledging the people that he now has Parkinson's disease as a sign that maybe he should get out? Because one of the specialists that he saw said that they believe football contributed to him having Parkinson's. What do you think that is something that will make people say, or make football players say, make a Tua say, okay, maybe I shouldn't continue to do that if it can contribute to me being in that state?
No, RC, that's, for me, I look at it differently. You try your best to mitigate risk as you live life, but you also want to live life, right? You want to be able to live in the moment. You want to be able to, circumvent certain challenges that come with life. I think you've just got to go live. Like, he gets the joy and love, and football is his passion. You gotta live your passion. You know, you gotta live and enjoy life.
Does Brett Favre's admission make you think about maybe you should have lived life differently?
No, because you just mentioned, this is what I was born to do. This is all I knew how to do well. Like, I don't know if there's anything else in life that I know how to do better than play running back, right? And running back gave me it was a blessing that God had given me that talent. Obviously, I worked more to develop, but that was sort of my home run in my life. Obviously, I try and do more on the back end, and that part is exciting, but I don't think there was gonna be anything or any person to deter me from playing the game and approaching the game the way I approached it. Yeah. Yes, on the back end with more science and more knowledge of it, it's scary. And to see what a lot of these guys are going through sometimes is scary. And to hear parents say, hey, should I put my kid in the sport? Should I let my kid play? And I go and I ask them, you know, what's an excuse for the 1-year-old that's in an accident, or a person that didn't have an opportunity to live out their life, that was involved in a car accident, or that probably developed some sort of rare cancer, or all these different things, right? They didn't know. Like, you have to just go and live. Like the babies that's premature, or maybe even the person walking down the sidewalk and some bad shit happens, just a tragedy. We did not know those things were gonna happen. You can't live your life on eggshells. You just gotta go out there and have fun, enjoy life. If you're passionate about being competitive and playing football, go do it. You don't know when it's your time to go. Like, you don't know these elements are gonna happen. We have guys, LT was the baddest motherfucker out there. We don't know how many concussions he sustained. We probably know how many he had given out. But all the guys that he hit, or guys that were concussed, even our concussions, like the small ones we were just talking about, right? They say it's the small ones that are the bad ones over time that you sustain. It's not always the knockout shots that creates the fencing. So we don't really know the real science behind it. We get to a point where we're older, we're diagnosed with these things. We just gotta be able to look back and say, man, we had a hell of a run. Something was gonna take me out, don't know what it is, but we know death is guaranteed. Tua shouldn't look at Brett Favre's situation and be afraid. Yeah. He should go and live his life and have fun. Like, he can retire tomorrow and get hit by a fucking bus. Sorry, we don't fucking know, right? Live your life, man. Love your life.
You sleep for real and get hit by a bus.
Love what you do, and don't be afraid, man.
But I tell you, I'm scared. Not right now, but what the future holds. Because recently, we just saw Vernon Davis at the Black Quarterbacks, Evolution of Black Quarterbacks with Mike Vick and them. Just saw Vernon, made me think about Vontae Davis, and I think that had something to do mentally, because I just talked to Tay, we've talked about it, I just talked to Tay months before that. Junior Seau shot himself in the chest because he wanted them to have his brain. So I am worried, but on the other side of that, I think about we can go to the Tony Gonzalez's, we can go to the Tom Brady's who's doing TV, hell, the Ryan Clarks, we can go to the Fred Taylors, who I go to for investment advice. There are so many guys that got the hell knocked out of them that didn't go those measures, and it didn't affect them in that way. So I don't know if I'm gonna go that way. I have bad days. Is it because of football, or is it because I'm a human that has bad days? And so I am worried when I think about my friends that lives are now taken, and I don't know if it's because of the football. And I'll be honest, with Brett Favre, I'll be honest. The Parkinson's thing, if that has to do with football, like the doctor said, RC, I fully understand, and I would agree with that if the doctor said. For him to be in a lawsuit with stealing money and putting that into it, don't get pity off what my goddamn friends might have died off of. And that's as soon as I read that Brett Favre story, I'm like, yeah, so you stealing money from Mississippi. Oh yeah, I got Parkinson's. Motherfucker, you were stealing. So that's my thing with Brett. Brett, if all love, I hope you do well. I hope you can work through this medical condition. But don't use the thing, the CTE, the brain injury, the trauma, all of that Junior and Tay went through to try to make people feel bad for you because you were stealing money, consciously stealing money. And that's my thing on Brett. I hope he's fine, but don't use it as a crutch because I know other people that use football head injuries as a crutch, and that shit gets to me because I have friends that's died because of those injuries. Don't use that shit to try to get sympathy off me.
Yeah, no matter how people take this, I have zero sympathy for Brett Favre in the way that he decided to present it and when he decided to present it. I agree with you. It's not a conversation I have a lot about Brett Favre stealing money and the way that he was treated opposed to the way that if you did it, you'd be treated. If you did it, you'd be treated. If I did it, I'd be treated. And so I think that's an entirely another conversation.
Yeah.
But I do look at Brett Favre deciding to share that he had Parkinson, however convenient it is to share it now. And it does make me think about our lives. It makes me think about my child's life, right? I've watched my child play football, tackle football since he was 8 years old. But it was his choice. I'm gonna let it allow to be his choice. The one thing I don't want to do when I think about the effects of whether it be CTE, football, is I never wanted to be alive and never have lived.
Yeah.
Right? I didn't want to be breathing until I died. Like just waiting for something to happen, right? Just always thinking about what's the next shoe to drop. Very well could be messed up. You know what I'm saying? I very well could lose it. You know, Brett Favre's Parkinson's can absolutely have something to do with football. But Ozzy Osbourne didn't play football. All I saw Michael J. Fox do was play Back to the Future and be Teen Wolf growing up. Linda Ronstadt, she never put on a helmet, right? There are all these other people that suffer from these things, like the old women that I walk around or that you see that have dementia, that can't remember their grandchildren's names or their sons, or they look at their son and call them by their husband's names. Like all of these things happen, but what happens with us is when it's us, it has to be football, which it very well could be. And I think that part sometimes grinds my gears because it's like everybody, like you applaud it, you watch it, you wish you could do it, you wish it could be you, and then once it's over, right? And once people don't live in it no more, once people aren't necessarily directly benefiting from it, it's, oh my gosh, what could it be now? I don't have time to think about that, right? Like I can't go back and unhit Willis McGahee, right? I can't go back and pull off of Wes Welker because the ball was tipped, right? Like I can't go back and push Steven Jackson out of bounds instead of saying, hey, no, I want to see you at 6'3", 235, be at 5'11", 200. I want to see if you're a better man than me. And I don't want to change that. Like I don't want to be a different human, right? Like you always ask the great question, what made you that? Wow. That, right? Like that's why I walk around in life maybe effed up. I don't walk around in life in fear. And maybe I should. Maybe I should be more aware. Maybe I should be less aloof. But I'm not. It's because I know I've stared down some things that other people don't want to stare down. And I know I can't control what happens going forward. It does suck that Brett Favre has Parkinson's. It sucked to see Muhammad Ali, one of the greatest figures of all time, turn into that. It's hard, right? And it's hard for everybody, but I just don't know, and this may be sad for other people. There is nothing else in life I would have rather be known as, rather do, than play football. There's nothing. And I just think that's it.
But actually, that's the question, though, because Tua at this venture, he can go and not have to deal with that, not have to deal with another fencing, not have to deal with that. And that's the thing. Us as 40-year-olds, we sit back and say we're going to change a thing. Tua could change something right now. And I think that's the question, if he should have, he should have the option of saying, I don't want to have that 3rd, 5th, 8th, 9th, 11th concussion.
I think he certainly, has the option, but it also brings you to, like, you got to make as much money as you can, and
When you're capable.
we got so many quarterbacks that we get to talk about on this show as the season starts. And Justin Herbert is a little banged up. Don't know if he's going to go this week, but that's not keeping him from doing great things. So shout out to both Justin Herbert and our sponsor of this show, SoFi, and just for what they're doing in the athletic sports community. You think about how we all have been involved in sports, but the cost keeps so many teens out and away from being able to fulfill some of their dreams of playing sports. And that's why what SoFi and Justin Herbert are doing is so meaningful.
Man, I love SoFi, the all-in-one financing app. You got to download that app, get it. They're helping the kids because, like you said, RC, we know how sports can affect young teens, and they're helping them. Justin Herbert, man, big shout out to you.
On here, we always talking about financial literacy and generational wealth. What I love the most about this is through SoFi's Generational Wealth Fund, they're giving $100,000 to public high schools across the country, $50,000 to one high school, and $10,000 to 5 other high schools. I think that's simply amazing. I wish that was around when I was in high school.
Yeah, and that's beautiful. Like we say, we understand how sports can change a teen's life. And SoFi, the all-in-one finance app, along with Los Angeles Charger Justin Herbert, they're teaming up to do just that for so many young people.
Man, it's awesome what SoFi is doing. Justin Herbert, like I said, big shout out to you. Let's jump back to the show.
No person necessary, 50 USDC, 18 plus who are nominated and either parent, guardians of the public high school students, a current or former high school athlete, or employed by a public high school. Void where prohibited by law. Contest entry period ends at 6:59 a.m. Pacific time, 10/7/24, subject to official rules, including methods of entry, limit prizes, and judging criteria. SoFiGameChanger.com sponsors Social Finance LLC.
That's why my dog at UNLV, like, I'll holler at y'all, though. Hey, what's his name? What is it,
I
Fred?
feel funny about this.
Matthew Sluka. Sluka. You got to make your money the best you can. And now in college, they're allowing kids to make money off of their name, image, and likeness. Matthew, I think it's Sluka, whatever his name is. He goes to UNLV. He comes from Holy Cross, where he was that boy. He was like first or second in passing yards, rushing touchdowns. He was first. Like FCS, he holds a lot of numbers. You go there, they've beaten 2 Big 12 teams already. And my man, y'all made a commitment, and apparently, at least from what I'm reading, that commitment has been fulfilled. But now that the team is better, he feels like his numbers are rising. He said, I kind of want a little bit more. And I could be wrong here, but he goes in and he says he can see that those things will not be fulfilled going forward. There were some requirements or some things that they decided to do, and now those things aren't happening. What do you think about this new world where it's true capitalism for these student athletes? We're like, nah, you ain't doing what I want and I'm balling, I'm out.
Let me just say real quick, this reminds me a lot of what you and I went through on that other situation. You got to get your paperwork right, Matthew. I'm sorry. It was some verbal agreements made by Matthew and an assistant coach, not the head coach. We're talking about a middleman. On top of that, their NIL, their collective, the UNILV, Friends of UNILV, they try to get creative. They put the NIL in there. They said it wasn't a formal offer made to young Mr. Matthew during the recruitment process. So as much as I hate it for the young man that he's balling, one, and he wants to be compensated above and beyond whatever that agreement was. I think it was like $100K. Allegedly, he's only received $3,000. You gotta have that ink dry and contract gotta be in place before you get out there and do your thing. As much as we all wanna see Jamar Chase get paid, he took it upon himself to go and get a Lloyd's of London insurance package. I think it was like $50 million. To insure his body for this season in the event that he can get injured and don't get the $100 million deal like Jettas and these other receivers have gotten, which is a smart deal, Jamar, way to go. He know that the contract hadn't been done yet. You got to get the contract done before you can make these demands. Otherwise, you're just gonna be, in the portal in December and have to transfer and go try it again. And now you're a 23, 24, 25-year-old, 5, 6-year, 7-year college player. And it's unfortunate, but as these young guys are learning how to do business, we had this thing on the show with Stout, and he mentioned about Nicky not signing a deal with that whole thing. You got to get the deal signed. And it's unfortunate if he didn't get the deal signed, which is a lot of what's come out since he, mentioned transferring. Verbal commitments ain't shit. I committed to Florida State, I changed. Guys commit all the time, they change. Verbal commitments are worthless. And then there was a middleman, so keep balling, young man. I hope you love the game. Hope y'all can figure it out. But right now, it's a zero, no grounds, nothing to stand on.
The phrase NIL wasn't even in our vocabulary when this podcast started.
Right.
It's hard to find something new in 2024. All these smart motherfuckers in the world trying to figure shit out. NIL is something new. We knew there would be repercussions. Every action is a reaction. We don't know what's gonna happen when a college athlete wants to renegotiate. That's a professional thing. It's just like when NFL guys, you talking about Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, them boys want new deals because Jamar Ryan interviewed him the other day on Monday Night Football. Jamar saw everybody getting paid, and a professional can say, I want a new contract. Athletes in college, it just started. How can I renegotiate an NIL? Because NIL just started. Colleges right now, with this situation with Matt, Sluka?
Matthew, yeah.
Matthew, they have to figure out now, I need to renegotiate. I'll bring up somebody else. What about the Florida State quarterback? DJ, what is it? I
just call him DJU.
Ugagula, whatever his name is. They bring that man and gave him $500,000. I looked it up. You think they want to continue to give him $500,000 sitting at 1-3? They don't. But NIL is not like the league.
The ink
it's
dry.
Paperwork. Jamar Chase has a contract signed to play, but he wants more money. Higgins has a contract signed to play, he wants more money.
That's why they playing. They ain't got no choice.
And they out there doing their thing. So this kid signed a contract for $100,000.
No, he
Some
didn't.
backup coach told him he'll get more money if he balls. It is a new thing, and that's why I love this story. And when we said we're gonna talk about it, I said I love this story because now they are professional athletes. He didn't have an agent. Every professional athlete, or most of them, we know
so
that.
now he's gone out and gotten an agent, and I think that's why the conversations are where they are now.
When did we have agents? We got our little $1,200 a month scholarship check, and we love that we lived in the dorms. It's different now, and with every action, the NIL's the action, we don't know the reactions. And now we're seeing the reactions of paying kids $500,000 a year to play.
Well, the other thing is, too, it's the NIL landscape is such a clusterfluff because Mark Emmert, who's a crook, that runs the NCAA, decided that he was going to be hands-off with it.
Yep.
Right? And because he was hands-off with it, he's now allowed collectives and universities and student athletes to create this thing that nobody has any control over. And so for me, whatever's going on with Matthew at UNLV, I say do whatever's best for you. Now, here's what's effed up about it if you're his teammate. We're at UNLV, we just beat Kansas, right? We're 3-0. We got 16 votes. We're 16 votes behind Boise State. We could move into the top 25. There are now 12 teams that get into the college football playoff. What if we go undefeated and we get there? Matthew's still thinking, though, man, I just came from Holy Cross, right? I know good and dang well I saw that boy from Colorado State say he passed up 600,000. And I watched him play last Saturday night or last Friday night, whatever it was, against Colorado. He's not that good. And so if you offering him $600,000, what would I get now that I've shown you at UNLV, right? In Division I against Big 12 teams, this is what I could do, what I'm gonna get. And so now you go to your university and you say, I know what we talked about. I know what the discussion was, but I think that discussion should now have a new tenor to it. I think it should have a different layer to it. And the colleges and the universities can say, nah, that's not what we're gonna do. And guess what? It's built in that I can now transfer. that if I haven't played in 4 games, I can use my red shirt and go make that money. If you're Matthew, here's your thought process, right? Coming out of high school, at least at that time, I was only good enough to go to Holy Cross. Even with a record-setting career at Holy Cross, it was only UNLV. What are the chances that I'm gonna make hundreds of millions of dollars playing quarterback in the NFL? That is not guaranteed to me. But what could be guaranteed is I could go somewhere else and be paid more money. You mentioned DJ at Florida State, got $500,000. You know, I'm sure Riley Leonard at Notre Dame got a good bit of money from their collective, right? All of these Gabriel that goes to Oregon, all of these quarterbacks, none of them are leaving for less money than they would get at the school that they are. And so if he's looking at it like that, you won't re-up me, somebody will. They are paying for quarterbacks who aren't even good. I'm not promised that I'm gonna make money in the league. This may be my only opportunity to capitalize off of name, image, and likeness. And unfortunately, the other piece of it is this, dog. I remember when I started, I didn't start until become a full-time starter in college until my 3rd year. I was so proud because I had to earn it. I played behind all these dudes that got drafted. I played nickel, I played some at free safety. I played in all these different positions, but then when it finally was my spot, I knew I earned that. I knew that the guys I was out there with had to earn it the same way. And I was a part of the love we all had for LSU. This dude ain't got no love for UNLV. This ain't even why I committed out of school. You ain't recruit me.
Nope.
I'm here because I'm a mercenary.
I'm here for the check.
Right? I'm here for this check. And if that check ain't inking like I want, if that direct deposit ain't looking like I want that direct deposit to look, I'm gone. And I get it. I'm gonna tell you what. I know Steve Stout wish he had LinkedIn. Man, this man going from music business to advertising back to the music business. Shoot, you had LinkedIn. It wouldn't take him but 24 hours to find somebody qualified. 86% of the small businesses that post a job find somebody great in 24 hours.
Man, y'all know I'm dabbling in some businesses. I'm not Steve now, but I go on LinkedIn and qualify candidates right there on the site. They only have to be looking for a new job, but they want to see what the options are, and LinkedIn gives them options, and I appreciate LinkedIn because they are going to find the best candidate for you for that job.
Look, like me, LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats, they don't have the resources or time to get the hiring process right. So guess what they do? They're finding so many different ways to make the process much easier for these businesses. That's why I personally love it. Listen, you want to sign up with my job? Go to LinkedIn. My job.
Listen,
my job.
Your job?
My job.
They can't take this job, but we could probably try to give them another one. We need a lot of help. Anyway, and if they want to do that, man, they can post their job on linkedin.com/pivot podcast. That's linkedin.com/pivot podcast.
You got to hire professionals like a professional on linkedin.com.
They even just launched a feature that helps you write job description that makes the whole hiring process that much easier. Go to LinkedIn.
But I just want to bring up, you remember Josh Hamilton, Georgia Tech quarterback?
Yes.
Bro, he ran Atlanta because he's a little bit older than me. He was famous in Atlanta. I might have more money than him being at Georgia Tech. I want to bring up Chris Leak, Cardale Jones.
Yes.
Bro, think about the quarterbacks that ran college football that didn't make it in the league that could have had $3-4 million to start life. That's why I love NIL for those names right there. How much money could Tim Tebow have made at Florida?
Oh.
Tim Tebow built Gainesville. Gainesville, the infrastructure, Fred, you back me up. RC, the infrastructure of Gainesville changed after Tebow Urban Meyer time. We ain't have a damn building over 6 floors. Tebow came in, they won them 2 national championships, and the infrastructure of Florida changed. Tebow could have made millions of dollars a year off NIL. So I love NIL. But now we have to deal with the repercussions of a change. And that's what these guys are trying to figure out. The NCAA, fuck Mark Emmert. He don't do shit. I wish I had his job. I don't know how much he make, but it's too much.
I want it. To do nothing?
RC.
I just gotta wear my suit and just be like, you know what? I don't really know what they're saying about that, but I'm not touching it.
He walk in at 9 o'clock, throw his hands in the air, and leave, go home at 9:10. Fuck Mark Emmert. I don't know what he does. But they're trying to figure out what to do with this. And I love, and it's UNLV quarterback. Bro, I just love the conversations that have to happen now because now they are not amateurs anymore. Y'all talked about, I think I heard Swag or somebody talking about ESPN. People criticize the kids more now they get paid. And they should. But a 17, 18-year-old not.
Actually, Deion Sanders said, yeah, we used to not attack kids and attack young men that play college ball. But now that they make more money than you do, you feel like you can attack them, which is fair, right? If you are now paid to do a job, I should be able to critique you like somebody that's paid to do a job. We talked to Tom the other night, though, when we saw Tom. Yeah. And remember, Tom was talking about what does this teach kids, though? The fact that you could just leave, the fact that you don't have to fight if the money is better somewhere else. He was like, what about learning to fight through adversity? What about learning to grind, right? Like all of those things. And he made a good point. He pointed at Channing. He's like, Channing's not Channing without having to fight through what he had to fight through. He said, Ty Dome is not Ty Dome. Ryan Clark's not Ryan Clark. Tom Brady's not Tom Brady. What do you think about that piece of it?
You know what? I love that. You know, Tom is button up. Tom is Tom, right? The greatest ever. You talk about integrity. Let's go back to what this country has been built on. We talk about capitalism. We're slipping away from the integrity and leadership in this country, and everything always comes back to capitalism. This is where we are. This is the landscape, even college football. I think the lesson here, in my opinion, there's a lesson to be learned for the other young players out there who are being compensated, who might have the potential to be compensated, the high schoolers. Because in Florida, we have high school NIL. Like, you have to be able to get your business affairs in order. The one thing that the high schoolers and these other college guys that have potential to collect NIL compensation, what they can learn from it is you have to follow through. You have to get these contracts done. And when that ink is dry and is more so than a verbal situation, then it's in the paperwork. Then you let your representation, your agents, your attorneys handle it. Much like what Reggie Bush is about to do, you know, in suing the NCAA, USC, the Pac-12 for NIL, because they've made millions of dollars off of his image, name, image, and likeness, more so than he did. So we don't want the players to be in that situation, but if you handle your business now, and maybe I skipped over a bit of what Tom mentioned about integrity, but they'll learn a lot other values in life, which I hope comes back to them maintaining a sense of integrity as they journey and matriculate throughout life.
Honestly, I say the cream will rise to the top. With that question, the dudes that play, the dudes that have that dog in them, the dudes gonna do it, they're gonna do it no matter how much money they have or don't have. I think it's gonna be guys without NILs that ball out.
Yeah.
And I think it's gonna be guys with money that falter. But I still think, you talked about it earlier, that thought of that you can't look at that receiver running that cross and know I'm about to go break his shoulder pads. I don't think that's gonna leave the people that really can do what they do. Freddie T, I don't think he sees that Will linebacker, know I can bop his ass once or twice and hit him for 90. I think that the cream is still gonna rise to the top through NIL and any changes that are made.
You know, I love the landscape of it, and I love how it matures these young men, right? Because in dealing with it with Jordan, I was able to advise him. I never pushed him in any way, right? And you know your kids, like you could feel their energy. 2 years ago when Herm was fired and Kenny Dillingham was coming in, I was like, hey, Jordan, what are you thinking? And he's like, well, I'm gonna go talk to him, Pop. I'm gonna see what he says. I'm gonna see where he wants to take the program. And he had that conversation and he felt he should stay. And at the time, I didn't feel that way, right? At the time, I was like, nah, this is, Ricky Pearsall had left, Jaden Daniels had left. I wanted him to be a part of that 2019 class that went off to other places and were able to see different sorts of success and play in different venues that now people viewed them from a lens outside of Arizona State, like, oh, you can go. Jaden Daniels doesn't become the second overall pick at Arizona State. He just doesn't. He doesn't grow in a way to be the quarterback he is. He's not put in those situations, right? To me, Jaden Daniels didn't run from Arizona State. He ran to LSU. Mm-hmm. Ricky Pearsall didn't run from Arizona State. He ran to Florida to become a first-round pick. And I think Jordan made his decision to now be at Notre Dame as an adult, right? It was, I'm gonna talk to my pops, and I'm gonna give him all the options and all the thoughts, but it's your decision to make. And now he sits in his decision every day, no matter what happens, wins, losses, good days, bad days, and he gets to understand that I put myself here, how do I live through it? And so I do think the NIL and the transfer portal, we may lose a little bit of what it's like to stay in one place and grind. But you got to put the work in somewhere, right? And now it adds the decision-making of, and what you said earlier, the action, reaction, the decision consequence of, if you're Matthew at UNLV, I decided to come here because I was promised or I thought that this was the situation. I have now outplayed at least the situation I agreed to when I got here, or I feel like some things aren't fulfilled. I have to go make an adult decision. Whereas for us, it wasn't an adult decision to make because I wasn't going to play at Southern. If I had to wait 6 years at LSU, I was going to play at LSU or I wasn't going to play anywhere. And so I do think there's so many different ways to look at it. And the other piece that it adds is if you're DJ, right? If you're Riley, because I see it firsthand, the expectations on who you need to be when they give you this money is way different. There is no patience of you're a young man, you're a kid figuring out life and ball. It's, hey, you better do what the hell we got you to do.
That's
And it ain't 1 and 3, DJ.
But that's a perfect segue into what we're seeing with Bryce Young. We give you this bread, these expectations are here. You know, look at what's going on in Jacksonville with Trevor. We just gave you this 250, Trevor. We 0-8 in your last 8 starts. No, sir. That can't happen.
And they stuck like Chuck too, Fred. So I don't. They can say it can't happen all they want.
No, it's bad. No, it's been bad, and y'all know me. You know, I'm going to run with Duval. I'm going to rock with my Jags, man. But a lot of times, like I told my guys on the radio show, post-game and all that, I said, I'm turning into y'all. You know, that these real journalistic takes. As a former player, being in a locker room, we know how the media spoke about us. But if you're a baller, you're a dog, you accepted that. You knew when your shit stunk. You knew when you messed up a play, you had a bag. Like Saquon.
I was miserable about it already.
You were miserable. Like Saquon, the big third down drop, he come back the following week, he lit the Saints up. You know what I'm saying? Big ball plays. So you have to have that sort of, be that caliber player, have that mindset and know that any moment, I'm gonna be good. So in speaking post-game about the Jaguars, just quick on Trevor and the Jags, that expectation comes with those new contracts. You always gotta feel like you wanna go out there and not let the fans down, not let the front office down, and play up to those standards that you know you're capable, but that money just magnifies everything and it puts you there, right? So he has not played well, even prior to getting it. He has to play better. The team has to play better. The coaches got to play better across the board. But back to Bryce, you mentioned the expectation, whether you're young. Bryce had not, I don't know if it's the Panthers. I believe it's more of the Panthers than Bryce, or at least that's just the way I look at it. I think he's a much better player. I hate to see him in this situation, but the expectations, we give you this money, NIL, same thing. You got to get out there. We don't care about your age now. We want to see results. And sometimes when you do get results, Jamar Chase, going back to that, results, you don't always get compensated accordingly. So it's a tricky business. College football, the landscape is more of a business now. It's been a business on the NCAA side, but for the players itself, NIL, all that stuff, it's a business. So what Matthew did, I think, was a cool decision by him, trying to salvage that red shirt season, transfer out of there. Hopefully he can get somewhere and pick up where he left off. But yeah, man, when you get this check, these people, they want it, they want their return.
That's the thing. You think, you look at Trevor and you look at some of these other guys, like, they ain't rookies no more. And we know what it was like to be rookies and make rookie mistakes. But cool part is, Snickers don't care.
Boy, these boys I had to buy my own Snickers in college, damn it. I need me an NIL to get me a Snicker. I have 1,000 of them.
Shoot, Chan, you talk about buying your own Snickers. Man, shoot, I used to dang near get girlfriends to try to help me get Snickers in college, because we wasn't getting that NIL money. At least she was able to get a job and take care of me. But that probably was a rookie mistake, because I'm sure they weren't happy about that. But whether it's dropping the pass, not making the right play, missing a check defensively was something I always did. Snickers is now taking care of us for making the rookie mistakes. If you go to Snickers.com/rookie mistakes and enter now, you can actually win an opportunity for tickets to the Super Bowl. And you can go to the big game in New Orleans.
My biggest rookie mistake is I got injured. I went to Gainesville thinking that my coach wasn't going to see me on the national televised game. I got back to Jacksonville, I got fined. I needed a Snickers back then.
Man, Snickers, they gave me a little jump because I had to call the plays sometimes. That was what rookies do. You talked about it, RC. Yeah, I got to make this check. Oh, we were supposed to be in 4, we in 2. I can't get us in 4. I'm tired. It's the end of the game. I ain't played this long before. The quarters in college are shorter. But you got to get out to the store, get you a Snickers or two, and you enter Snickers.com and have a chance to win. You say Super Bowl tickets, bro?
Super Bowl tickets. Chan, it ain't even just about winning tickets to the big game. If you enter Snickers.com/rookie mistake, you can win weekly prizes that allows your game days to be way different than they were before you entered. So remember, that's Snickers.com/rookie mistake.
The biggest mistake they can make right now is not going to Snickers.com and signing up.
They need to make sure they do that, but we're going to be at the Super Bowl anyway. The Jacksonville Jaguars, as Fred mentioned, they probably won't be. The Carolina Panthers either, but it does make you think, right? We all talked about situations and the situation Bryce was in. And basically, we were all pissed off with David Tepper, Dave Canales. Bryce is our guy. We were all mad, like, hey, can't nobody go in that situation and play. And then Andy Dalton comes out. He's playing against our other guy, AP, and Andy Dalton snapped. He ain't looked like that since Cincinnati, right? And it makes you think about, like, the pressures, to me, of playing that position. Bryce Young is essentially in, like, his second tryout for a new coach. And he had Frank Reich through half the year, and then you have a different coach. Now Dave Canales comes in, and he don't have no tie to you, right? And so Dave Canales looking at it, how do I win this week? How do I evaluate the rest of my players? Who gives me the best chance to do that? And who gives me the best chance to keep my job? Yeah. This dude fired Frank Reich and got him up out of here quickly. You see what I'm saying? And so he's thinking to himself, let me make this thing look like professional football. I can't go out and get blown out by the Chargers a week after I get blown out by the New Orleans Saints. The only thing I didn't love that he did was when he got into the locker room, and what was a complete team win, and I get it, you want to praise Andy Dalton, he reads off Andy Dalton's stats. If you know you have a young man in that locker room that is clearly struggling with the decision, putting on his best face, continuing to be a great teammate, after the way that he struggled early on in his career, maybe losing or feeling like he's lost his dream to be all he could be, to me, don't bring it in the locker room and throw it in the face. Look what our decision did, right? Yeah. Don't say, hey, see, this is all it was. I could coach, right? We got good players. Our quarterback can't play. And I think it's all about how you're supported. It's also who you are and how you play. It's how you're supported, who are the people around you. And I just feel like in that situation, I didn't love the way that part was handled. But in watching that team play this week, obviously they had to go forward. It's like I can't really be mad with the decision.
But failing, you learn. I go to Raheem, my homeboy, Raheem Morris. That's the OG. We love him, been on the show a number of times. Where they saw Kurt in the shotgun, and then they come back and put Kurt on the center, and you see what he did. He ended up winning the big game. You can look around when guys have to pivot, they can pivot. The great teams have to adjust to things. New Orleans Saints, bitch, they were scoring 40 points a game, and then when it got shut out the last week, because people seen it and good coaches adjust, and that was the adjustment. I don't just think flat out, Andy Dalton is better than Bryce Young in football. I can't say that. But I think when Bryce left, they constructed an offense that accentuated Andy Dalton's strengths. And that's what people do. And like as you see it, bring up another friend, Mike Tomlin. With the Steelers, the defense is crazy. What they giving up, 9 points a game or something crazy. They choking them out. They're taking Justin Fields, who Chicago gave up on, and they're winning games with him.
And he's playing well, though. It's not just...
And he's not going for 350 a game, but he's going to get the runs when they need the runs. They're going to matriculate down the field. They're going to snap the ball with 2 seconds left on the clock. They're going to have a shorter game. They're going to play it out because Mike knows what the hell he's doing. So you have to adjust. Good coaches adjust. And I don't want to say there's great coaches in Carolina. I just want to say the failure of what was going on with Carolina and Bryce Young changed them to say, let's put Andy in a better situation than Bryce Young. I don't know what Bryce can be. I like Bryce. I like Bryce's family. I don't know what he is yet.
Yeah, and I think, though, it points to who the people are, right? When we look at least the most successful quarterback drafted last year is C.J. Stroud. There is a poise, a calmness, an understanding of just life in general that from the first time we sat down with him before his last year at Ohio State, we all walked away and we were like, whoa, okay, he got it. And we didn't even know how talented he was, but we knew the intangibles and the person had what he needed to be successful, had what he needed to deal with adversity. And as far as I'm concerned, when we sat with Jaden after he won the Heisman, right? Yeah. The calm, right? Yeah. The peace, the poise. Even watching him interact with his family, who seemed to be, especially his mom, like his mom's on it, right? She's into everything and she's making sure things go right. And he's like, nah, it's cool. Or that's okay, right? Or I can move around that. And then you see the way that he's played thus far this season in a situation that we didn't think was as good as Chicago. Mm-hmm. And Caleb having to now adjust and do things. And so I think it's all about like who these dudes are and who these dudes are surrounded by and the way that they're supported.
Yeah, and you're talking real quick about who they're being surrounded by. What I like to see for Bryce is for him to take this, right, experience, and just learn from it. Do not lose your confidence. Don't waver. I think he can be better in a different situation, maybe a different system. We know systems matter. We all can agree to that. We still think he's talented. We still think he's able to play in this league. He has to go out and prove it. So with that, I just want to say, Bryce, man, try your best to keep your head up, maintain your confidence. You'll be back. You'll be back.
But he got to leave Carolina.
That's what I said, a different situation.
He got to leave Carolina.
That's what I'm talking about.
I think, like, for me, the big thing that I care about is even on this guaranteed contract and the way that the league works now, Bryce Young has enough money. Bryce Young, at least I feel, Bryce Young is a smart, good human. He's going to be okay as far as his life. I want him to be emotionally strong. I want him to be mentally healthy. Right, I want him to feel and be in a place where he understands that Bryce Young has worth. I agree with you, Chan. The film I saw at Alabama, that's a man that could play quarterback in this league. The film I saw the first 2 weeks in Carolina, that is not. And I think that's why Dave made that decision. But to me, that's not the whole of who that player is. And in the right position, in the right system, I believe he can be good. Chan, man, you been watching the Yankees? Juan Soto killing them this year.
Oh, boy, they might win it all. Juan and Big Judge and them boys, goddamn, man, they gonna do something.
And, bruh, the Soto Shuffle, hey, that's my joint. You think you can do it?
I can try, but I ain't gonna disrespect Juan like that. The man himself, I like to watch him do it.
And your knees touch, too, so that probably...
My Kenny Smith ain't gonna do it.
Hey, Fanatics is offering a once-in-a-lifetime experience to meet Juan Soto. All they gotta do is download the Fanatics app and play free daily games. And bruh, you might get a chance to learn the Soto Shuffle from the man himself. I have a question I want to ask you guys, because I know we have to finish. Like, what we do, man, is like we give game, right? And sometimes we do these 3-man shows and we jump into sports and we talking about all these different things and we try to give game on life in that. I asked somebody this question earlier and I want to ask you guys, and it's going to be difficult to answer off the cuff. It's like the biggest pivot if you ain't know what the biggest pivot was and you were coming on the show. And so either one of you could take it first. We all know what mission statements are for organizations, universities, for businesses, right? If at 44, 48, I believe, and 40, right? Am I right?
Yeah.
Someone said, from today forward, what is your mission statement? What would it be?
Oh, jeez.
That's a bitch there.
Yeah, it's a, man, that's a really good one.
That's a grown man now.
That's a really good one, RC. It's sort of like the pivot question.
Yeah, I think,
on.
because like, in my thinking, it's like, hey, this is, when people watch this show, it's if Fred Channing and Ryan were interviewing or sitting with Fred Channing or Ryan sometimes. Mm-hmm. And when we talk about other people so much and what they're going through and how we see that, we don't get to share that part. You know, we always kind of get the, I wish you'd interview, I wish I would do Channing, or I wish you would do Fred. And I think asking these questions at some points gives us an opportunity for people to see that. I can go first, because I read the book, so I had to think about it before.
Yeah.
And I can go, especially after this week, right? We put the clip out last week about Andrew Schultz and black women, and you know, you get all of this sort of praise for your understanding, for us being willing to tackle the topic, for us tackling the topic with compassion. And like when you get that praise, I'm sitting in my house or reading it, and I'm like, man, I wish they'd stop, right? I wish they wouldn't see me in that way because of this one thing I believe or I said. I don't think bad things are always the whole of people. I don't think the good parts of us are always the whole of people. And sort of when you get that adulation, I'm like, man, but I've done this in life, and I've done this, and I think this, and I feel that way. And you make these decisions or quote unquote mistakes or things, and they don't always come to the light. And so like there's this perception of you that you wish you could debunk because you don't want to let people down. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because you don't want to disappoint people, because they build you up in this way that your imperfect self can't always live up to. And I think that would be my mission statement going forward, is to the things that I believe, the things that I feel, the things that I think, the things that I say always match my actions, right? The human in me, right? The weakness in me, the shame in me, the embarrassments of me don't overpower the goodwill, don't overpower the positivity, don't overpower the discipline. You know, I think we have now grown to a point to where we are probably more important than we deserve to be. Mm-hmm. You know, we matter more than we expected to. And I want to like have an impact on our culture, on our community, on people in general, in a positive way that is true to not how I think or I believe or I communicate, but how I live. And that would be my mission statement.
In this show, I've spoke a lot about exposure leading to expansion, which really aligns with growth. I try to display a sense of integrity in how I move. I do want to inspire, our community, the pivot community, as well as the local communities that I can touch on a tangible level. Here on the show, I want to do it through transparency and being selfless and being vulnerable, and hope that it can help inspire someone or maybe change someone else's trajectory, in life. I always go back to that one saying, it's never too late to pivot. I truly believe in that. Whether you're 40, you're in your 30s, 40s, whatever it might be, it's never too late. And I think them seeing how we move, right, how I move, and being an example, and we hear stories about these billionaires out there. They became multimillionaires or billionaires in their late 40s. Like, you still have time. So just reminding them of that, trying to, again, foster growth, trying to inspire, empower, and just really at the end of it all, just lead with positivity. I think that'll get us a lot further than a lot of other stuff in this world, in this environment. That would be my approach and my mission statement.
First thing popped in my mind, that's when I laughed. From Bernie Mac, God rest his soul, funniest dude, one of the funniest dudes I've ever seen in my life, on House Party when he was talking to Kid. If people don't like you for who you are, fuck them. Be yourself. If you a shitty person, shit ain't gonna work out for you. If you're a good person, don't change for anybody else. Do what you do. One thing was living the positive. I see a lot of people that just grab on the negative in this world, and you can see 100 things happen in your day, and the 2 negative quotes on Twitter, or the 2 bad things that pop up, or the negative, that's what you're gonna attach your day to. What about the 98 positives? Attach yourself to the positive, not the negative. And just work hard. One thing about you saying us being in a situation that we shouldn't be in, us being put on this pedestal, like athletically, I thought that, you know, educationally, really, school was easy to me, I thought that. But with this podcasting thing, people come up and ask me for like the secret. Somebody just asked me the other day about the secret of podcasting. I'm like, bro, it's not no secret. And the thing I tell them, I said, we haven't missed a Tuesday or Friday in over 2 years. Are you ready to do that? Are you ready to grind and put out shows for 2 years, twice a week? And people start looking at the ground and shit. Be yourself, man. Work hard. And really, to your point, Fred, don't overlook the positive shit that happens in life. Because it's easy to be mad. It's hard to be happy. Anger is easy to be because now you can be upset and now you can try to yell at people and do all that shit. Man, be happy. But first thing and foremost, Bernie Mac said it. If people don't accept you for being yourself, fuck them.
Pivot fam, thank you guys for pivoting with us once again. We'll see you on Tuesday.
Hold up, limitless. Niggas to me, got pinning it. I fought the head to witness it. Get my people feeling militant. Way I'm feeling, got me up. On the mission, got me up. Knowing me, I got the key. On this vision, I can trust. Limitless. Niggas to me, got pinning it. I fought the head to witness it. Get my people feeling militant. Way I'm feeling, got me up.